Okay, great. Okay, thank you everybody again for coming to this late afternoon press conference. I'm Judy Keene, Director of Public Affairs for the USCCB, and we'll go ahead and get right to it. I will introduce Bishop Coyne of Burlington, Vermont, who is our chair for the Committee on Communications, and he will introduce our panelists. Thanks.
Thank you, Judy. To my immediate left is Archbishop Jose Gomez, Archdiocese of Los Angeles. He is the Vice President of the USCCB. He is here to speak to that position as well as the Working Group on Immigration. Down on the far end is Bishop Joe Vasquez, who is back for a second round today. He's the chairman on the Committee on Migration. He also is here to speak on the Working Group on Immigration. It was a rather substantial conversation that we had this afternoon. Speaking of substantial conversations as well, Bishop George Murray, Diocese of Youngstown, chairman of the Ad Hoc Committee Against Racism, is here to take any questions that you might have from that really good conversation. And finally, Bishop Frank Caggiano, formerly of Brooklyn. We have to at least note that one time, because Diocese of Bridgeport, member of the Committee on Laity, Marriage, Family Life, and Youth, and he is here to speak to the World Youth Day presentation. So please direct your questions to Judy, step up to the microphone and introduce yourself and ask one of the, say which bishop you'd like to have respond.
Yes, if you have a question, just go ahead and raise your hand. Yes.
Mark Pattison from Catholic News Service, a question for you, Bishop Caggiano. I noticed that, I could not help but notice that the start day of World Youth Day in 2019 is January the 22nd, which is also here in the United States, often the day for the March for Life. What kind of a problem is that going to pose for people who ordinarily participate in one, would like to participate in the other?
It is, the timing is unique because of the desire of the bishops in Panama and Central America to have the event at the start of their summer. And it's also particularly a drier period of time than in the usual time that we would have in our summer. So it does pose problems, and I think logistically we're going to have to work through how we can perhaps accommodate those who may want to go to the March for Life and maybe come later on, right, but still be there when the Holy Father arrives. It's going to be problematic for those who are in university and colleges because many colleges will already be back in session at that time, so we'll do our best, and we're going to be working in the coming year to try to accommodate as many as possible. We want as many as possible to come.
Okay, other questions? Yes, Carol.
Hi, Bishops. Good afternoon. As Bishop Coyne noted, the conversation this afternoon was so passionate, to use the nuncio's words this morning. How do you feel? Did that surprise you with the discussion on immigration and racism? And how do you feel we can move forward, as one of the bishops said, with a unique voice? What is something that, I don't know, can you take away from this afternoon, some kind of nugget that inspired you from the discussion?
I would say from the racism standpoint, the takeaway for me was the engagement of the bishops in that conversation. And that is obviously an issue which many of the bishops have dealt with, especially in the last year. And many bishops came up to me afterwards and said, we are looking for ways of responding to this problem and could use the help of the Committee Against Racism, and that's exactly what we want to do. We don't want to simply issue statements that say racism is wrong. We want to help people change their hearts and change their behavior. So the fact that the bishops had a very good discussion about that, a very good back and forth dialogue, was the great hope for me and the nugget of the nugget to take away.
On immigration, I think it's obvious that all the bishops are engaged on the issue, and I think the dialogue was very wide and interesting to me, looking for ways to understand better what the situation is and how to help Catholics to understand the issue. and at the same time, as Bishop Vasquez suggested, to get to know the immigrants. I think that was very interesting to me. Obviously, the challenge is first to continue to pray that the solution could be worked out, and then the other point is to continue to be very active in engaging the elected officials that something can be done immediately for DACA and in the long term for immigration reform.
Yes, Ian. Yes.
Hi, everyone. Ian Levitt with the Wall Street Journal. There's a question for Archbishop Gomez and Bishop Vasquez. You've said that this might be the best opportunity to get something done on DACA, and I'm wondering if your strategy in terms of how you want to try to push elected officials on this is shifting at all, given that you think this is an opportunity?
I do believe it's an opportunity because we have 800,000 DACA youth here in our country right now. Those 800,000 persons are greatly contributing to the society in general. They are working, so they're contributing in that way. They are very much engaged in church. They are part of the society. They are helping in so many ways. I think the DACA youth present many great possibilities. Many of them are involved in university. Some of them are excelling in academics. So we have here young people who are truly contributing, who are the best in many ways of the immigrants that are present. And why would we not welcome them and say, we'd like for you to continue to contribute and be part of the society? So to me, there's great potential there. My prayer and my hope is that Congress will be able to find a way that's going to benefit these young people. Some of them have only known this country as their land. To go back to a land that they've not known, some of them maybe don't even speak the language, would be a great challenge and a burden for them. But they have great potential, I think, to give us a lot of hope and a great blessing.
For me, I think both for the administration and for Congress, I think it's clear to them that this is urgent. You just think of the different opinions of people in the last couple of weeks. They all are saying that they want to do something even before Christmas. So that's a good sign. Obviously, from our point of view, I think it is important for the community, especially the church, to continue addressing the issue and helping people to get to know the dreamers. So that's what I hope we can do in the next weeks or months.
It's in the back in the tie, and then.
Hi, I'm J.D. Flynn from Catholic News Agency. Archbishop Gomez, my question is for you. There was a lot of talk today about prudential judgment as it relates to immigration, and I do wonder if maybe you could clarify what the role is for a bishop in terms of teaching about the principles that guide policy, and what the role is for laity in discerning the particulars of policy. So what about what the bishops are saying today binds Catholics, and what inspires them, encourages them, or sends them in the right direction?
Well, I think it was a very good conversation, and different bishops or archbishops offer different points of view about how to understand what the church teaches regarding the urgency and the moral weight of the immigration issue. I think the challenge that we have is to put it in words that people can understand. And I think one of those ways of doing it is in our parishes and in our diocese, try to put people together. Hopefully, maybe through Thanksgiving or Christmas, there are many things that can be done together in different communities, so that the people can understand better that when we are talking about immigrants as as Bishop Vasquez said, we are talking about our brothers and sisters, people just like us. I mean, we all are children of God. So hopefully we can do that.
Claire.
Claire Cratian, LifeSite News. Bishop Murphy said on racism that evil has no rights. How do you think this relates to the principle that, quote, error has no rights, end quote? Should this notion that evil has no rights or error has no rights be applied to discussions on the 500th anniversary of the Protestant Reformation, and if so, how?
Whoa, that's a big question. I'd have to put on, do we have any theology professors at the, I mean, the bishops are the teachers of theology. You just kind of brought us way down into the depths. Anyone want to comment on that?
Did you have,
sorry, Claire, I'm not trying to dodge your question. It's just,
yeah. Did you have someone in mind when you were you addressing that question to one of us?
Really, any of you. Bishop Murphy of Rockville, the Diocese of Rockville Central, is the one who made that comment. That's true. I think you were leading the discussion.
Yes, he made it as I was standing at the podium, but I'm not clear on your question. He made the statement that evil had no rights. And then you were saying applying that to?
Well, there's a common expression that is used in, I guess, like traditional Catholic circles, that error has no rights. Mm-hmm. People say this when they're arguing that instead of having religious liberty, there should be just a Catholic view because only the Catholic view is correct. But people say that error has no rights when they are arguing that only the church's position should be accepted. And so I'm wondering if you think that that's related in any way to the 500th anniversary of the Reformation and how that principle should be applied, if at all.
Well, in terms of the relationship to the 500th anniversary, I have read a number of things because of that anniversary. I've read a number of statements and theological works on the anniversary, and what the theologians that I've seen seem to be saying is that there are areas which Martin Luther criticized where he was theologically incorrect, and areas where contemporary theologians feel that he was correct. And I think the attempt has been to try and separate those two and recognize, as one person said, that there were mistakes made theologically on both sides. And so we're trying to recognize those mistakes and go forward from there, because if we're going to have ecumenical dialogue, one of the things we have to be is honest. And there are positions that are taken by the Lutherans that we simply cannot agree to. And in the same way, they say there are positions that we take that we cannot agree on. So I'm not so sure that that principle can be applied in that situation carte blanche. I think it is a complex application to try and strive for the truth. And the truth may not be convenient, and it may not be, for lack of a better term, politically correct, but it is the truth, and we have to embrace that.
Okay, any other questions? Any final questions before we wrap up? No? Okay, great. So we'll let everyone go ahead and head off to dinner then, and thank you for coming, and we hope to see you here tomorrow. Thanks so much, and thank you, Your Excellencies.